Yesterday afternoon, to the surprise of virtually no one, Speaker Johnson's deeply flawed and highly partisan CR failed by a vote of 202 to 220. The no votes included Democrats, Republicans, fiscal hawks, conservative ideologues, and people in between. In other words, there was broad opposition to the Speaker's partisan maneuver. It's time the Speaker moves on. Sadly, time is not a luxury that Congress has right now. Today is September 19th. The government shutdown is September 30th. That's 11 days away. And instead of doing the bipartisan work everyone knows is required for avoiding a shutdown, the House Republican leadership has wasted 2 weeks, listening to Donald Trump's ridiculous claims on the campaign trail. Now that their efforts have failed, House Republicans don't seem to have any plan for actually keeping the government open. So the Senate will step in. Later today, I'll file cloture on a legislative vehicle that will enable us to prevent a Trump shutdown in the event that Speaker Johnson does not work with us in a bipartisan, bicameral manner. Both sides are going to spend the next few days trying to figure out the best path remaining for keeping the government open. By filing today, I'm giving the Senate maximum flexibility for preventing a shutdown. Democrats and Americans don't want a Trump shutdown. I dare say most Republicans, at least in this chamber, don't want to see a Trump shutdown. And the American people certainly don't want their elected representatives in Washington creating a shutdown for the sake of Donald Trump's ridiculous claims when it's clear he doesn't even know how the legislative process works. Senators are ready to work this process the right way. Democrats talking to Republicans, both sides at the negotiating table finding a way to keep the government open without partisan hoopla. The Speaker must choose: either keep paying blind obeisance to Donald Trump and his ridiculous claims, or work with both parties to spare the American people from a Republican shutdown. And just a parenthetical note, how does anyone expect Donald Trump to be a president when he has such little understanding of the legislative process? He's daring the Congress to shut down. I remember he did that with Leader Pelosi and I in his office a while back. It didn't work out too well for him. Our Republican colleagues should not blindly follow Donald Trump. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't have a plan. And frankly, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Now on Project 2025, later today, Senate Democrats will hold a press conference to expose Donald Trump's 2025 Project 2025 for what it actually is. Project 2025, Trump's Project 2025, is the most harmful, most unhinged, and most extreme conservative agenda in recent American history. By now, many Americans have heard about Project 2025. And the more people learn about Trump's plan, the more they realize how disastrous it would be for our country. I could speak about Project 2025 every morning for the remainder of the work period and still not have enough time to cover all the nasty things hiding inside this agenda. For middle-class families, Project 2025 will raise taxes by $3,000. And it caters to the ultra-wealthy by giving people who earn more than $10 million a $1.5 million tax break. For workers, Project 2025 will undermine overtime pay, resulting in less pay for longer hours for middle-class Americans who work hard and often have to work more than 40 hours a week. As many as 4.3 million Americans will have their overtime and wage protections eroded. For our national security, Project 2025 will make us less safe by gutting agencies charged with protecting Americans at home and around the world. And for our border security, Project 2025 rejects the bipartisan plan we released earlier this year, the strongest bipartisan border security measure in decades. It also adopts a policy of utterly cruel mass deportations with little or no due process, and even risks deporting 3 million dreamers. How cruel. Deport 3 million dreamers? It's in Project 2025. And finally, Project 2025 will weaken our democracy by opening the floodgates to foreign interference and big money in politics. And if all of that isn't enough, just yesterday, Donald Trump's running mate actually proposed going back to the days when having a pre-existing condition meant you pay far more for your health insurance. That's right. Under the Trump-Vance plan, anyone with a chronic condition or an estimated 129 million Americans could face outrageously expensive health care costs. This is all beyond sinister stuff. And while Donald Trump tries to run away from Project 2025, here's the simple truth. Donald Trump owns Project 2025 and every single one of its proposals. Project 2025 has been led by hundreds of former Trump administration officials chomping at the bit to get back in government and impose their horrible plans. Some of these sections were written by Trump's own cabinet officials, and Trump himself said in a speech that the Heritage Foundation, which houses Project 2025, would, quote, lay the groundwork and detail plans for exactly what our moment will do. Let me say that again. This is Donald Trump talking about the Heritage Foundation, which has created Project 2025. It would lay the groundwork and detail plans for exactly what our moment will do. As the head of the Heritage Foundation said earlier this year that his goal was institutional, and the head of the Heritage Foundation said earlier this year that his goal was, quote, institutionalizing Trumpism, including with Project 2025. Let me say it again. Institutionalizing Trumpism. Who are these guys fooling? Now, of course, even Trump himself is backing off with all the criticism because it's so far away. These right-wing ideologues want to steer America over the cliff and hurt just about every average American. And then, when it becomes public what they want to do, when the public learns more of what they want to do, they try to say, oh, well, we really didn't mean it. But we know they did. Watch out, America. Watch out for Project 2025. It will hurt you. It will hurt your family. And it will be implemented by Donald Trump and his right-wing coterie if he gets elected.